Amazing. Welcome once again to, I think this is episode 5 of Finance is Cooked. Super excited. We had a great one last week. Please check out the episodes and subscribe. Sloan sort of like blew our mind with the real world. And actually, that's the premise, I think, of our show today, which Joe will introduce a little bit. But like, he blew our minds a little bit with like how his team is using Claude Cowork in day-to-day finance function activities. So it was kind of exciting to see that. We got excited about that. And Joe, I'll let you say hello and like maybe preempt what our app of the show today is.
Yeah. I mean, last week was great with Sloan. What I loved, it was super practical, right? You know, there's a lot of AI pontificating in theory out there, but I think we tried to show stuff that is real and that like you can actually do today and how folks are doing it. So I think we're taking that episode with Sloan, and maybe today we'll focus on some Claude Cowork stuff because, all right, I'm almost embarrassed to say, I feel like Cowork is like a big like watershed moment for a lot of people with AI stuff, right? They're like, oh my gosh, have you used Cowork? I like barely use it. And I feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah. So like, Joe, it's interesting. I think we've said this before on the show, which is that like, according to Anthropic, this was an accident, or I wouldn't call it an accident. It was not like part of the plan. We're going to release Cowork. There was something going on internally and they were like, oh, this would be useful. And they're like, oh yeah, go do that project. And then it came out and everybody was like, oh my goodness, Cowork, it's this thing on your desktop. It can do everything. It's better than Claude. And now it's taken a life of its own. I should, maybe to give context to this is, in my view, it's the closed source competitor to like OpenClaw. Like it's the enterprise thing that will keep growing in that direction, because OpenClaw came out a few months ago. And again, for everyone, OpenClaw, blew up the internet. It was this agent that could connect to everything, seemed to have unlimited memory. That came out, it was open source. And to be honest, I would say that OpenClaw is further from a feature perspective and it's open source than Claude Cowork. But of course, that came with like trade-offs, like security trade-offs and all that kind of stuff. So Cowork is like the enterprise, the considered safe one. I have a lot of opinions about personalized AI and all that kind of stuff, which on future episodes we'll talk about. But yeah, so Cowork is huge. People are using it. It's kind of incredible. So we'll go through that on the show here for sure.
Yeah. I'm hoping, I'm obviously a huge Claude user, right? But mostly Claude Code. So I think we'll walk through some setup stuff. Anybody who's curious about it, who maybe hasn't gotten their setup, hasn't figured out exactly what they should use it for. So we'll go through the setup. And the big thing I want to do is, they let you do this recurring task thing, right? Set it up. This is like where the real kind of like agentic aspect is of the thing that works in the background for you. I haven't done that with Cowork. So maybe by the end of this, we'll get mine set up and we'll get one running.
Yeah, absolutely. So awesome. Okay. So with that, we will jump into the app of the show. But I've got one thing first, Joe, before that. You've seen it. Others haven't. On our Finance is Cooked website, by the way, this is all, AI built and actually AI run with an AI agent that it builds the site, it updates the site, all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, we can do a whole thing on the Finance is Cooked website, but financeiscooked.com, visit it. It's kind of a fun page. It's like a studio looking feel for those who are running while listening to us. It's got a bunch of stuff here and we have a vision for a bunch of stuff we're going to have here. But the thing I wanted to share was Ripple, actually this was prompted by Ripple. Ripple posted a very unique finance and AI job last week on LinkedIn. And I know some of the folks at Ripple and they were like, hey, spread the word. And first of all, I just thought that it was absolutely cool that something like this existed or is about to exist. And I think we're going to see more of it, right? Like people are concerned about jobs, all of that kind of thing. And I think there's some legitimacy to that. But there are also these opportunities where AI is getting embedded in the finance function. So this is like a controllership scalability and AI execution role. They're blending AI and being in controllership together. There are even others that are like just you are the AI function, all of that kind of stuff. So that stuff is clearly coming. But anyway, all of that to say, hey, we now have a curated finance AI job board on our site. So we'll have finance AI. You can see this tab. It's got like roles and then finance AI adjacent roles. And by the way, if you're wondering, these were all created by an AI agent. So we have an AI agent that basically goes out and like scans different jobs, and it's specific to basically say, is it a finance role that involves some kind of AI? So like this one, it was like it hit right on. This one, I haven't even read it, but based on the instructions of the agent, I'm fairly confident that, oh, there it is. That's why. I'm fairly confident that it's not just an FP&A analyst. Within the job description, there was some significant amount of AI. That's why I pulled it in. So you won't get just every role here. What you'll get here is like the AI agent has scanned, and it's not just a role, but it has some significant AI related aspect to it. And so the AI agent will put it on the site. Every week it runs, and then it'll add stuff. So last week, this was there. It just added these two this week. It looks like Upwork. I guess Upwork is, I don't know if is Upwork the company or there's some role in Upwork. I'd have to look at it. No, it's actually Upwork the company that's there. And then you've got Galaxy Digital here, I guess, hiring. So it will be interesting. And then Finance AI Adjacent. This is, not necessarily finance, but it's interesting, head of AI platform and engineering. So anyway, just wanted to promote this before we go too far.
All right, two quick things. If people think you're kidding when you say an AI builds and runs this site, to let people behind the curtain, last night I asked Ori, hey, how do I edit something on the show plan? And Ori literally said to me, Joe, you can't, don't bother. It's not made for humans to do. Ping the producer agent in Slack and it will update it for you. And it did. It did do that. But I was like, I was trying to click on here. I was like, how do I edit it? And Ori's like, it's not made for you.
Joe, what was actually shocking to me about that was that you just sent it, you like had the show plan and gave it the spread. I was not expecting. It's kind of interesting, right? Like I've been using this, but like I haven't used it in that way. And
it worked for a thing you didn't design. I gave it a Google sheet of here's the segments and the things. And then the other thing, all right, on the job board front, super cool. I've been seeing these things popped up in my LinkedIn more and more. A lot of accounting firms basically looking to hire like an AI transformation and enablement person. So like anybody who's listening who's in the accounting space, I think there's a huge opportunity there of not necessarily to go out. I mean, you could go out and get one of those jobs, but I think you could just become that person internally by getting really good at it.
That's a great point.
If your firm hasn't when I was back in public accounting, or sometimes it felt like a race to get out of accounting. It's kind of funny because now I'm back in accounting. But it's, you start an audit or tax, whatever, and then everybody wants to go do like consulting or something else or do something like get out of the weeds on the accounting. So I think a great kind of like career pivot move right now is get really good at this stuff and get involved at your firm, and not just accounting firms, at your company. And you can probably become the AI transformation and enablement person if you haven't hired for one already. So I think there's a big opportunity there.
That's such a good point, Joe. Such a good point. Okay.
All right. You want to do some cowork stuff?
Yeah. Let's do some cowork stuff. Okay. I will stop sharing here.
I'm going to share my screen. And all right, we're going to give something you build to plug here, whether you like it or not. So I'm on aigym.studio, which is made by Ori. Ori made this, and it's pretty neat. I've been clicking around on it, and it's what I like about it is very much how do I actually execute the thing that I'm reading about? Oh, Claude in Excel is big. How do I do it? I can click this, and actually it'll walk me through the steps, and I'm kind of like building skills that way. So I get the name that you gave it, the AI Gym, but you've got one here for Claude Cowork setup. So I'm going to click that. And maybe we'll just walk through.
And Joe, to be clear, clear, this was built by AI agents as well. Even the maybe I'll show this if we have time at the end. But even the creation of the steps, right? There's content all over the place where people are posting, "Hey, I did this. Hey, I did that." And a lot of times it's just like I see it on LinkedIn and it's okay, like another thing, but I can just grab like somebody's LinkedIn post that actually doesn't describe very well, put it into the platform, and it will turn it into a step-by-step guide, provided it has some context and knowledge. And then that's how this is produced. So anyway, kind of fun to use.
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. Okay, all right. So we're gonna set up Cowork, and like I said, I've used Cowork a couple times. You'll see it, but not a lot. Okay, so my first step here is I got to download Claude Desktop. You got to figure out how to do that. You can go to the Anthropic, the Claude website, and download the desktop app. You need that. So if you're on if you go to Claude via the website, you got to get the actual application on your computer. So I've done that. I got to upgrade to Pro, which I think Cowork is available if you're on the $20 a month plan, right?
Yeah.
You don't got to pay for the $100 version.
Yeah.
So you got to pay for the $20 a month plan. So I'm already on, one of their paid plans. So I'm good there. Okay, then I got to find the Cowork tab. So I'm going to switch over to my Claude here. Can you see my Claude window?
Yes.
So I'm on my chat, right? I'm on my chat. Where we're looking for is right up here, right up top.
Joe, can I say something about this?
Yeah.
Which is that, I mean, I can't speak for them, but they tried to create a desktop app that put all their things together, right? You just want to chat like you've been doing online. You don't have to be you have to be online because this uses the internet, but you don't have to be on the website Claude.ai. You chat here, it has that same experience. You want to code, you go to the code tab and it has a UI. Now, I will tell you, anybody that's using Claude Code, I would say that this is the intro step because there's some limitations relative to just going in the terminal or using one of the other tools that have a terminal. But technically speaking, you can just type in here and tell it to code. Some people use things like Replit or Lovable or all of that kind of stuff. In some ways, they're not going for that fully here because that's like a whole, those platforms allow you to push it up to a website, all of that kind of stuff. But here, you can build things. You can build a logo app, build a calculator, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And then Cowork is obviously the one in the middle that we're going to look at today. Maybe Joe will do a session on code and all of that kind of stuff. But Cowork is in the middle. Which, Joe, I guess, correct me in my definition here. This is like the knowledge workers AI, right?
Yeah.
I
mean, that's how I think about it, right? Like, I think I've said this before. For me, ChatGPT is Google. If I want to know, how long I have to, cook a hamburger on the grill, I ask ChatGPT. If I want to get work done, I'm a knowledge worker. If I want to get work done, I'm going into Claude. It is the knowledge workers, I think, and I think they've made a big push for that, kind of in enterprise, and I think they're getting a pretty good footing. Yeah, all right, that's helpful. So Cowork just sits right in the middle here, right?
Yeah.
So here we are. You can see I've done a couple things, and actually you can even see I haven't done a task. But all right, your AI Jim has maybe some steps that I haven't done. And maybe I've skipped that are worthwhile to do.
Let's scan them. Let's scan and see.
Yeah. So it says build your folder, create your main folder, add your subfolders, which I think is interesting. So it actually gives me... Ooh, I actually like this. I'm going to do this on my computer.
Joe, yeah. And while you do that, you can flip. I think this is really important in the medium to long term, because it kind of boxes all your stuff in an organized way, right? So when you flip to the other page, it's so easy to just be like, I got into Cowork, let me just start typing and stuff like that. But if you do stuff like this, which is create a folder, maybe it's on your desktop, right? That you create a folder, and then you just know that all your work, you still organize, you have subfolders, you so on and so forth. I mean, you don't have to use these definitions, right? This is just somebody from LinkedIn saying this is how they did it. Maybe for you in the finance team, you're creating let's say your company is Acme Co. And then you're creating subfolders for my FP&A stuff and my, and my accounting stuff and my month-end stuff, whatever. But you should try to create that structure it's better not to like distribute your stuff all over your computer and although the AI memory and all that is getting better, it's just good to be organized.
Right, I'm so guilty of that. All right, this is where I'm not organized when it comes to my AI use. I think I've told you this pain point before, but like I feel like I have things in 100 different places. So this is a step I haven't done. Maybe I would have better results if I did. It would certainly probably just make my life easier if I did. You know, I'm doing one-off things, and I'm telling Claude, okay, save a skill to do this, or this. But they're all kind of like the details of each one. Wait, how did I tell Claude to do that thing that built the skill? It's buried in a chat somewhere. I don't have a home for it. But maybe, or an even more basic thing here is like just recognizing that this means Claude is manipulating files on my computer.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, Cowork it's got a bunch of inputs, and we'll talk about what some of those inputs are in a minute. But ultimately, it is going to produce work for me, files, right? It is going to literally look at files, review them, and produce new files for me on my computer. That's what it can do. Is that fair to say?
100%. And
Okay.
and while you're still moving on to the next step, I think a lot of people jump to like agentic magic and all of that kind of stuff. But this is based, it can create stuff for me. The other comment I'll make about why it's good to structure like this is that then you can have Claude looking at one place and almost seeing everything, if that makes sense. Like when you go to the other tab, before you go to this, Joe, go back to Cowork for a second. You see work in project, you see under the chat right there, that drop down. You have to choose a folder for whatever your ask is. So right now you're defining the scope of Cowork's interaction for at least this task that you're about to do, right? So organizing it, if your stuff is all over the place, then you always have to be selecting different folders, all that kind of stuff. If you organize it well, you can narrow in or zoom back out, because imagine you're trying to do a task that involves data from different folders. Now you choose the top level. So doing the hierarchy will be worth it for you over time. Now, in 6 months, 12 months, honestly, the context windows, the memory, the RAG capabilities of this stuff it'll just not matter. It'll just be like, hey, it's anywhere on my computer, just solve it, you know. But for today, it's good for you and it's good for the AI to have it organized.
Okay. All right, that's helpful. All right, I'm going back to your AI, Jim. You know what our next step is here. It says create your MD files. And all right, can you in 15 seconds or less, explain to people what an MD file is? I use them all the time, but I don't know if I can explain.
Yeah, so an MD file is called Markdown. It's just a format. It's, docx, everybody knows, Microsoft Word, or Excel, XLSX, or it's just another format. Now, it is kind of very, I'll say, simple and native to AI agents. So it's very easy for them to update. It's very easy for them to create. docx and all of that requires like some level of like rendering and all of that. This just works for AI. So you're just creating a text file. You're typing text into a .md file. Yeah, not a lot of format there.
All right. I'm going to try something here, and I didn't necessarily plan on doing this.
Yeah.
But Claude should know things about me, right?
Oh, you think it does already? Okay, let's see.
Hold on. So if I go... can I ask Cowork?
You should, yeah. Tell me what you know about me. Yeah, you can definitely.
No, I'm literally going to tell it. Inside the About Me file, create an About.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, let me just change. Now, it probably would understand this. So, who I am, what I do, right? And now, I don't know how I like to work.
Let's see what it comes up with.
Yeah, I really have no idea. I'm going to do it. I have no idea what, because, all right, does Cowork, does it have, like, kind of memory and knowledge of my chat history?
It should, yeah, because it's keeping it on the left. Now, one thing I don't know is, and we can even ask the AI agent, I don't think that it keeps context between chat and Cowork.
That's what I was asking about. Does it know about...
between them.
All right, do you ever do two things at once?
Yes.
Let's see. Okay.
All
right, can you see this?
Yeah.
All right. I might not want people to read this. This might tell us something deep and personal about me. I don't know. But I mean, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see this, right? Look at this. I also coach youth girls basketball. That's true. We kind of dominated. Not a big deal.
But it is really.
It is really. Listen, if you play CYO third and fourth grade girls basketball, you do not want to see us. We're living in the paint.
Getting
We're
smoked.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I mean, this.
there you go.
My tech stack, right? Streamlit, blah blah blah. I work in VS Code. I've used Claude Code, right? I'm comfortable building scripts and apps, not just snippets, blah blah blah. Give me. Oh, I see. I don't like that. I want this. So it's funny that it thinks this. Give me complete drafts, not clarifying questions. Because one of my biggest beefs is like when it doesn't, it gets stuff wrong and it doesn't. I'd rather it ask me clarifying questions.
So that might be that it's learned something incorrectly that you're about to correct.
Yeah. Questions before Claude takes action. Okay, and then all right. So I'm telling it to this low formality, direct. Skip the preamble and post-amble. Just do the right. Yeah, because I hate AI. Just AI speak like everybody else. Okay, so it says that it updated it. So all right, I'm gonna just go to my folder. So I guess technically I just had Cowork to do something for me.
Yep.
All right, so here it is.
And Joe, this is the easiest use case, right? Again. Yep. People always want to jump to agentic, connect to everything on auto this, and then they get concerned when it makes a mistake. I would just progress. Like, start with it creating stuff for you that you edit, then you have it edit, then you have agentic flows. Be progressive about those things.
Okay, I'll probably skip this step right now, but I do this. Create an anti-AI style MD. Like, AI writing turns people off. Like, it just does. And like, it's like the thing of, it when you see it, right? Like, you can get, if you use here's the thing. If you don't use AI tools a lot, you might not recognize AI writing. If you use them a lot, you will automatically recognize it because you read it all the time, right? So I actually love this of personalizing your style so that you can, I probably need to work on this. Maybe I don't use AI to write a whole bunch because I don't like how it sounds, but maybe if I spent some time, I probably need to feed it some of my own personal messaging and stuff. And maybe I could so I like this. So create a style MD, global instructions. What is this? Sorry, the next step. Go to settings, Cowork.
Yeah, go.
I've literally never done this before.
Yeah, go there.
What are global instructions?
So this is, I mean, it's kind of what it says, right? Which is that, let's see, have they moved it?
Settings. Oh, here's Cowork.
Yeah.
Global instructions
right there.
Instructions here.
So this applies to how Cowork thinks about you, how it, right? Hey, I never want you to create a .md file. Hey, I always want you to give examples. Hey, it's just things that are consistently true. Now, you can achieve that with the about me and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes with AI, like, you can achieve it in multiple places, but this kind of is almost in every message. Cowork knows this about you and then tries to apply that. So
I like that. I might, I'll save everybody the time because I actually might have to think about this. I mean, I definitely identified one, which is I prefer it to ask me clarifying questions rather than just power through on a draft. And I do put that in a lot of my prompts. So basically, this sounds like what I put in here, I can kind of save myself what I put in my prompt.
Yeah.
Like I would probably make to be honest, what I imagine my instructions would be is actually creating maybe some more nuanced stuff in here. Like I have my about me, maybe I have my like writing style thing, maybe I have my instructions every time as files. And I wonder if in my global instructions I can tell it refer to these three files and follow what's in there.
You can. So
so that's probably what I will end up doing.
So an interesting point here, Joe, is that like I found that less is more in these types of global instructions thing. Meaning like writing a whole book makes it that like every message that's being sent, a whole book is being sent, and maybe it's not always relevant and all of so it should really be, you should really think about it and say, what are the 7, 8, 10 things And I personally, I don't think it matters to AI. I personally like to write them number one, this, number two, this, so that it doesn't make mistakes. It's like a check to me. I'm trying to give it a checklist. I'm trying to give it a checklist so that it just knows boom, 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 check, versus like huge narratives with huge, contextual innuendos and, all those kinds of things. It should be very crisp and clear what it is that and then these things, of course, should apply, as it says, globally, regardless of project, right, of what you're doing. If it starts to get specific where you're like, I might not always want that, it's not for global instructions, essentially, right? Because there are other levels at which you can essentially, you can put instructions at the project level, so on and so forth as well. So this is global things that you always wanted to keep in mind when you're working with it.
Yeah, so now I don't always do these, Ori. But these are some things I end up putting in prompts, if you can see these. I always wanted to ask clarifying questions. I always like it to acknowledge assumptions I've made. And like, I'm in the accounting and finance world. And like, sometimes I'll ask it like a basic question of what forms are required for this thing, because I can't remember and I don't want to Google it. And it'll be like, we assumed it was a Delaware C Corp. It's not a Delaware C Corp. Why did you assume that? So sometimes I like to tell it to tell me the assumptions you're making, call out weaknesses. I've actually found that it's pretty decent at this, of telling me the weaknesses in its own approach. It's kind of similar to where the assumptions are, highlighting where judgment is necessary, like kind of where there's decision points. I like it to tell me that. And tell me your confidence in your results.
Joe, I love that you're writing this on the fly, because and yet you know that off the top of your head of, hey,
yeah, because this is just how I end up prompting, right?
Yeah.
This is just how I end up, because ultimately, when I see results that are goofy, that like I know aren't quite right, I end up telling you like, wait a second, tell me what assumptions you made, and then so now I know to ask those things. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna get rid of this one because it kind of annoys me sometimes. But I'm saving this. All right, I literally just doing this on the fly, but I've given it some global instructions.
Amazing.
Which is basically what I try to do to help me get a quality output when I'm prompting. All right, so let me go back to the gym. Write your rules. So where your folders are. Oh, interesting. So I can tell Claude my naming conventions of like, all right, I always want you to name this file. That actually probably would be helpful. Oh my gosh. I'm going to skip this on this call, but I need to do this. I was going to try to show you an example. All right, I can just, hold on. No, I can't. We have some client names in it. But I was using Claude Code to analyze and produce a bunch of files this past week. And I have 40 files that are basically all the same name. And it's such a nightmare to figure out what is what. So, yeah, I need to do this. So this is another great one of the rules, maybe making an MD file about that.
Joe, can you do me a favor? Can you click explain this? Here, I just wanted to, so like in here,
you've got a little agent here.
Yeah, so some people might come in here you can come and do what we did here. And in here in the platform, like the agent has explained this, quiz me, did I really learn it, or ask it something, and it'll give you more details like about it to the best of its ability. It will give you information. So anyway, we don't have to go through that.
This.
I just wanted to.
Okay, all right, we're almost done here, I think, in the setup. I want to show one other setup thing, and then I want to actually do something. One other thing in the setup, and this goes for Cowork and everything else, is like we talk all the time about context. Like these tools are as powerful as the context they have. How do you give them context? Claude's got a couple ways, and a lot of it is through skills. Like skills is, you've done something in the past, you've given Claude instructions on how to do something, and you want it to save how it did that, right? So again, it creates these MD files where, here's one where I have a client that uses Sequoia as a payroll provider, and the reports are nasty. They come in Excel files or big payroll registers, and I just have it take these files and convert them to journal entries, basically. That's a skill I have. But the big one I want to show is connectors. Like you'll see, I have a bunch of web connectors here. I have a bunch of kind of desktop like things it can do on my
Hey, are you
computer.
actually using AI win tax, or you just played around with it?
Just played around with it.
Okay.
Haven't really used it. I was gonna try to feed it dummy. I was afraid to give it any real data, so
Yeah.
I gotta figure out like some dummy data to give it and see if it works, because they came out, they're like, yeah, we can do your taxes in Claude.
Yeah. So let me say something about connectors just for a moment. Okay. First, you can see here that there's these things called tools, which is, to me, in normal English, you can see it on the right. It says read-only tools, blah blah blah, and then you say it's just what functions can Claude do. And by the way, this is the thing, when we talk about the UI is dead, essentially if you're using AI, maybe we should use a different one that people are more familiar with. Can you click Gmail? Let's see if it shows tools. Okay, so I just want you to know, when you actually log into Gmail and you click, an email, it's making some kind of call to open that up. What's happening here is that this is the AI's way of doing that same thing. It's just not going to your Gmail app anymore, right? It's, whatever that thing you do, like that the system does behind when you click read email, it's basically organizing it into a tool such that AI agents can do it. In other words, where I'm going with this is that ultimately, even today, for many platforms, an AI agent can do everything you can do in the app, because ultimately it's just an API call, and they create these things called tools that encapsulate or wrap API calls, and then it can just do it. So the future is 100%, in my view, some centralized AI capability and doing all your stuff from there. I'm not saying you'll never log into that thing, but a lot of your work will be done outside of that, and obviously has that benefit of, what if I want to get something from QuickBooks and send an email? Today I would go into QuickBooks, grab the thing, go to my email, set it up, and then send it. In the future, it's just, hey, you're connected to my Gmail, you're connected to my QuickBooks, find this, show me this information, and then craft the email and send it from your AI. Yeah. And then, even better, Joe, we will stop typing and we will be sitting like this, and our jobs will be, the mic will be on and say, hey, go to QuickBooks, grab this information, and essentially send an email to Joe explaining blah, blah, blah. Okay, next thing. Okay, now I want to actually scan my calendar for the day, and then it blah, blah, blah. And next thing, so that's where it's going until, it doesn't need us anymore, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah. Good news for yappers like me. You'll see, by the way, if anyone knows how to connect the QuickBooks connector in Claude to my firm level account so I can have access to all my client stuff, please let me know. I think I can only connect it to one at a time, which is very annoying. It makes it not very useful. Anyway, all right. I've got a bunch of, by the way, how I set these up, I went to browse connectors, and I literally just scrolled through here. I was like, I use that, I'll add that, basically any tool I use that I saw in this list, I just spent 5 minutes scrolling through. Like, I should probably add Calendly. Look, I'm going to add it right now, because I use Calendly. Like, Claude should have access to my Calendly, right? That's how I got most.
And then Joe, let me just plug one thing here, which is that you saw that there's a custom connectors. If you went back there, it says add custom connector, meaning there's some app, Claude is not natively connected to it. People build these things called MCP servers, and then you could just put the URL here, put username, password, your authentication, and then a custom connector is born. Again, this point of every app in the world, I feel like I have to say this and repeat this. Every app in the world will be connectable to an AI agent, or they will die. That is it. This is what it will be. Because in the future, everyone, their mode of operating is, we are going to use an AI agent in some capacity. Maybe not for everything, not in full. We're going to use an AI agent. And if you as an app or a capability refuse to let any AI to connect to that, you'll be extinct. You'll be a dinosaur.
Yeah, and we already see this, right? If you're a bank, you have to have an integration to QBO, right?
Yeah.
If you want like broad distribution, right? Like it's just table stakes, and of course we connect to these tools. All right. Enough of the setup. I want to do something in Cowork. I don't have any ideas off the top of my head, so they have this neat little ideas tab here. I'm literally just gonna steal one. Okay.
Joe, it's super interesting. I've never gone to this tab, but it makes so much sense.
All right, okay. Research competitive positioning.
That's interesting.
I wonder what this will do. I literally just clicked that button, all right? I have no idea what it's doing.
Can I make a comment while it's loading here? I have 3 comments. One, what this is doing is running a prompt. That's what it is, okay? It's a skill. You can see that there's a default skill that has been created. And again, a skill is just a set of instructions. First, log into this. Second, check this. Third, do that. It's just a massive organized prompt. Everybody should use skills. Anything that you do, any process you do today is a skill. So when you get to work and you're like, okay, I have to do this, that's a skill, okay? In AI terms, it's doing a series of steps. So if there's anything that you always do, even if there's some steps that are too complicated, just turn it into a skill, right? Basically say, okay, here's everything I do. Just, record into some audio thing. Here's blah, 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 what I do. And then you just turn it into a skill. And then you can always do that / command every time. You say / my competitor brief / my morning review. Okay, this is interesting. It's come back with some stuff.
Yeah, which competitor set should I analyze? Because I do a couple things, right? I work with startups. I do some crypto native stuff, mid-tier firms. So it's asking me a question. So I don't know if it did that because I put in my global instructions, ask me questions. No, I don't know.
So it naturally does do this.
It does this? Okay.
It does this because any task you give it is it wants more context. It'll usually ask 3 or 4 questions.
Look at this. I'm going to do this. I said I need to do some content. How should I handle your position? Yeah, sure. You use what's on my website, basically, is what I told it. Okay. So I gave it some info, and now we're doing a thing. Now, I think, to be honest, Ori, I just used one of their ideas. I think one of the more interesting use case for Cowork is the use case that Sloan talked about last week, which is taking an existing manual process internally at my company and having Cowork do it for me, and then maybe setting it up on a schedule so Cowork does it all the time. To me, that's the more interesting kind of use case for this. Have you used this at all for recurring tasks like that?
Yeah. So the easiest one, okay, full transparency, Joe, I use my own thing. I don't use Cowork anymore. I have graduated because we'll talk about this in the future. Hyper personalization is my thing, and this is awesome software, but at some point, as with all software, it's generic, and if you can make something specific, which AI will enable everybody to do, that's my take, you can. So I don't really use this. However, you're onto it. You hit the scheduled thing. You can create anything you can do from prompt, you can do here. All of these things are just different ways of giving it instructions. A skill is basically a prompt. You typing is a prompt.
If I want to do a daily brief of tell me what I got to do today based on my emails and Slack, right? That was one of the options.
Exactly.
I could do it daily at 9 a.m. whatever. Right?
Exactly. Because it's connected to all those things. As long as it's connected to all those things, it will run. It's interesting, right? So we talk about all this, the world of agentic, right? We say the agentic world. There's some level to which agentic is literally a prompt and a cron job or a scheduled process. Is an agent is, here's a prompt, do this, and then I put a time and I give it an engine so that it can run that prompt at that time. It would be almost the same thing, Joe, hilariously, as you waking up at 9 a.m. every day and pinging it and saying, what do I have to do? But it's nice because it's it's scheduled, it does it by itself, and then it pulls the
Yeah.
stuff together. Yeah.
All right, so maybe a scheduled task. Like the great example Sloan gave last week was like basically we've got this huge spreadsheet. It's got 20,000 rows. We would normally spend 5 hours investigating a bunch of lines on this thing versus another file, right? You know, and so basically like my task might be, hey, there's a file in this folder that has these, explain the file for any rows that meet this criteria, check them versus this other file that's in the folder.
Yeah.
And produce for me an Excel of all the ones you investigated and what your findings were. And maybe I want to do that every week. Maybe I want to do that every month. Maybe. So like that's an oversimplified version of what Sloan walked through last week.
Yeah.
But that might be something like a real technical thing I'm using it for. I know I'm just kind of doing a goofy one here.
Yeah. And by the way, it's worth highlighting. You can see on the right that the way it works. So this is different from chat, right? Because Cowork is, I am a knowledge worker. So I have steps. I progress through them. I don't just send you something back, right? Even like I know there's a deep thinking mode on chat and all of that kind of stuff, but this is still different experientially because it thinks everything is a task. Now you can just go and create a new task. You don't have to wait for this one. Let's say you could create 10 tasks and it can just keep going, working for you autonomously. And when it's done, you come back and review all of them. So it does track its progress and all of that kind of stuff, as you can see on the right side, and tries to execute on that, and then creates documents. It can edit documents and all of that as well.
Yeah. All right, we could probably move on from this, and then maybe we'll check back on it of what it told me about. And now, again, I told this is for content marketing, a competitive analysis. I think so far it's going to be right, which is Cambridge has essentially zero content footprint, which means, I got some work to do. So I think this actually might end up being really helpful for me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do we want to move on and then maybe
we'll
check
let's just say one thing about dispatch. Yeah. So click dispatch. I know you're not connected yet.
Yeah, I'm not paired. So this is paired with my phone.
Yeah, exactly. Phone. So they release again. This is a response to OpenClaw. Okay.
Yeah.
OpenClaw came out, and OpenClaw day 0 was like from WhatsApp, from your iMessage, from anywhere that your phone is, you can ask it to do stuff, and it'll do stuff. Right. That was like January. So, a few months later, Claude is okay. In the grown-up enterprise secure version, we're going to have that concept where I pair it with your phone and then you can make the same request. So if it's a standard, it's like how you do WhatsApp, you scan this, you connect it, so on and so forth. You can pair it with your phone and then ultimately you can send tasks from there and it'll do it. Pretty cool. I think in Claude Code it's called remote control. There are all kinds of things like that. So pretty cool.
I think I would have already set this up if I ever left my home. If I left my house and I was away from my computer, I would probably need this. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
It says neat. It's writing. I think it's done, by the way.
Oh.
If we want to just see it. So
yeah, let's see what it's creating here.
Yeah. So it said, it's telling me. It made up some firm name. I don't know why. And by the way, these are both great firms, Chainwise and the network firm. Like a lot of folks there, they do good work. Shout out to them. So I feel good if it's comparing me to them.
You're in good company. And by the way, it doesn't just create the MD files. Just so you know, like it creates PowerPoint, creates Word docs, it creates Google Sheets. Or not Google Sheets, but Excel. So just so you know, it's just that we didn't ask it for a PowerPoint. It could turn this into a PowerPoint. It could turn this into a Word document, all of that. It creates all kinds of documents for everybody else watching.
I mean, this is like literally doing an evaluation of everybody's content strategy. There's probably too much alpha in here that I shouldn't be showing. But the
alpha is free. Super intelligence is now $0. Or in your case, $100 or $200.
I paid $100. But I mean, this is pretty neat. By the way, a lot of X's for. I mean, this is a great point. I should be doing a bunch of this stuff. Like, I deal with this stuff all the time. Like, I deal with 1099 DAs. I should be making.
So, Joe, your marketing, you got to get your marketing department. So, Joe, that is the agent you need. So this is the other thing. Right. I think Eileen said this 2 episodes ago, where her perspective of how she was thinking about AI was like, what is my gap? And let me build an agent to fill that gap. And I guess in this case, that's an idea for people is you might not want it to do the stuff you're already good at. you might say, hey, the stuff I don't have time for, and that it's purely incremental. So what if it's not perfect at content marketing? I had zero before, you know what I mean? So that's super interesting of thinking about how to use
it is a great point, right? I'm very much a practitioner. Like, I'm in the weeds on my clients' work, and I'm focused on that. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to get some clients on a referral basis, so I haven't really been thinking about marketing. This is the part of me I don't have to. Eileen's point, this is the agent I need. Maybe, I kind of did this just as like a goofy example here. I might actually run with this and keep trying to use Cowork and say, okay, maybe you can help me produce some content. Maybe this
that might be the next thing. And then in 3 months you have it reevaluate and say, okay, how does it look?
Yeah, where are
now?
my gaps again? I've been doing this, and they're like, oh, you keep talking about this too much. You need to do this. All right, super cool, man. Super
Amazing.
Cool. All right, what's next? All right, what's next on our agenda here? So, I know we probably went long on that.
Yeah, we went long, but a lot of people care about Cowork, so I think that is okay. And of course, there's a ton of things you can do. Go to AI Gym/Studio. That stuff is like on there as well. That is free.
Studio, or you got to know your own URL. AIGym.studio.
AIGym.studio. All right, so let me go back in here and pull this up. So we're on episode 5 here. We went through the app of the show. Lots more. Please share in the comments like other ideas. I know there's just not enough time to go through everything you can do and real use cases you can do with Cowork. But Joe, thank you for pulling back the curtains there. We'll go somewhat quickly here. Joe, like, what do we care about to talk about? So there's the Jamie Dimon one. There's
Jim. All right. I'll give him that too. He says the 3.5 workday is coming, which is basically, all right, maybe this is a conversation for another day, but in our text, we've been talking a lot about, like, maybe a little bit further in the future. What does all this mean? Are we about to be on an age of abundance because intelligence is everywhere? I don't know. It kind of stresses me out to talk about. I don't know. But I think it's really interesting. Like, Jamie Dimon's one of the most powerful people in kind of business and the economy, and he's saying, hey, AI is going to shrink the work week to 3.5 days.
Joe,
if he's saying that means big stuff is coming, and I feel like so many people are still
Joe, this is so interesting because Jamie Dimon was like the back to office, physically present. Mm-hmm. You guys are, I mean, I don't want to overspeak, but like he was very firm. Get back to office. I think there were conference calls that were like published. So it is interesting that because basically people were this is also an interesting point is are people truly already doing 5 days? Like we might say we have a 5-day work week, but maybe it's already the fact that
I know a lot of people doing 25 hours spread out over 5 days.
Yeah. So maybe that's that. But I think it's significant for him, to your point, given who he is and also what he has done historically and then this is useful for me, Joe, because I haven't necessarily thought about I've thought about like job losses and those kinds of things. I've never thought about it in this terms of, hey, we're getting the productivity gains. We're just reducing the number of hours. Now, maybe that comes with, pay reduction or not. I don't know. But I think it's helpful to at least have this paradigm of like maybe the standard. I mean, I think in Europe, there's a different standard for the work week than the US. So this is interesting anyway to think about.
Yeah. All right, what else on here? We got EY deploying AI agents. I mean, we just see these stories every week. Yeah. They're just deploying AI into their audit business.
Yeah.
What else?
I mean, I want to talk about this one because Anthropic released or didn't really release, secretly released, their new model, Mythos. And they released it more like with a marketing, video that basically said, this is too dangerous to release to the general audience, the plebs of us that are out there. So we're going to, I think, select certain folks, cybersecurity focused, blah, blah, blah. So essentially give it to the good guys so that we know that are the quote unquote, I guess in their definition, the good guys, so that it's not out there and available to everyone and then the bad guys get ahead of the good guys. I understand it in principle because I also don't know how dangerous the thing is. But also I may have some trust issues with Anthropic just because 2019, OpenAI said this about, I think it was like GPT-2 or something like that. It's
Yeah.
too dangerous to release. We're now at 5 point, like something. So again, it also, there are other things that have happened, right? Like in the whole journey that makes me kind of ask some questions about, is this really this, or is this kind of a little bit of marketing hype to increase, like the value.
I think in our tech story, I was immediately like, this is garbage. Like, this is marketing. But then, Ori, I'll tell you, I did have the thought, and I think I'm going to do it. I was like, I did the thing where I used the same password on like 100 websites for 10 years, I did have the thought, I might update some of those passwords. So I thought it was marketing hype, but then deep down I'm like, it might be real. I don't know. I should probably do that. So yeah, I mean, it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen. I don't know.
I mean, to be honest, Joe, I think there is some reality to it, no matter what, right?
Yeah.
But what I can't decipher is, you could say that probably about GPT 5.2 and say that about each of your models. They were all in some way too dangerous to release. So did this cross some barrier that we haven't crossed before? It's hard for me to trust the industry in that regard if 4 years ago, and this is the thing, like it looks good now. In 3 to 4 years, we'd be like, guys, you might really believe it. Maybe Anthropic really believes it, but the macro looking back says maybe it wasn't because So anyway,
Yeah.
Just
all right. What's that? You got anything else on the list here you want to talk about?
We can talk about this in the future stuff. I think that's enough for now, given everything that we can go to the take of the show.
Yeah. What do you have, Ori?
What do I have? I have a take that we are going to lose jobs, but jobs are for robots, projects are for humans. Now, this is all in the definition, but I say jobs are for robots, projects are for humans. And the reason I say that is fundamentally, I frame a job as a thing that you have to do, again, for money. It's like fundamentally, like, of course you can love your job, all that kind of stuff, but like in order to earn subsistence, you need to do these kinds of things to earn money. I don't think that humans are the most efficient or the best at running companies and businesses. I think our core competency is things other than that. And I think I call those things projects, whether it's the study of something or the exploration of something or seeking more experiences or changing the goalposts. I think that is what we're truly good at. And at the point at which the robots and the artificial intelligence becomes smart enough to relieve us of the things we're not as good at, we need to work intelligently to create a transition, move out of jobs and move towards projects. I think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's going to be a smooth transition,
right.
but it's going to happen.
I like that just because it tells me there's still a role for humans. And by the way, we didn't click on that Jamie Dimon article, but he actually said in that interview that like his advice for Gen Z people was that EQ was going to be more important than ever. So he's kind of saying a similar thing to you, which is that human aspect is what's going to be a premium. So I like that take. We can skip mine. It's not important. It's something I think about all the time.
Save it for the next episode.
Yeah. It's nothing. All right. Oh, hey, super quick. Something I did with AI this week. I use Bitwave. It's a crypto subledger platform a lot. It has a tendency to produce a ton of data. So I had 9 million rows in a spreadsheet. Now I had it in a spreadsheet, but you can't open it. You can't open it in, you can't open it in Sheets. You can't open it in Excel. So I couldn't do anything with it. I just have this 4 gigabyte CSV file. So I just had it in a folder on my computer. And I was like, hey, Claude Code, go do this.
Brilliant.
Go tell me. Basically, I just needed to run pivot tables on it.
Yeah.
That's basically what I needed to do. But I can't run pivot tables because I can't open the file. It did it so easy. So, another point in the favor of the UI is that I didn't use Excel. I just had Claude Code do it. But yeah, so like big data set analysis, I mean, AI, there's nothing better suited for it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you know, AI Gym, we talked about that. So like we use that as an example. AI Gym, the studio, play around with it. I'll be adding more courses or guides there and stuff. Joe, I think we've made it to the end of episode 5 here. How are you feeling? Maybe outro our lovely audience. Again, please subscribe. We appreciate you guys. You could be doing literally anything. If you're listening to us, we appreciate you taking that time. But Joe, I'll let you take it away.
If you've made it this far, that means you really love us. Thank you. Please subscribe on YouTube if you haven't. Please take your spouse's, your boyfriend's, your girlfriend's phone, subscribe to YouTube there. We're only like 20 away from 100, Ori, so we got to get to 100. So yeah, thanks. This was fun.
All right, thanks everyone.
See ya.